My name is Chad Hart, and I'm excited to be your trainer today because there are two problems that most real estate agents face in this industry, two obstacles that prevent them from having the success that they may have expected or hoped for. The first of those is that they don't have the right leads, or enough of the right leads to call. They simply don't know where to go to get business. And the second, and this is where we'll focus most of our time today, is that they don't know what to say when they're actually on the phone with a potential seller. That while prospecting, they don't have the right strategies, tactics, and methods ready to implement to overcome objections, to push past rejection, and to set listing appointments even when the conversation was a little hairy or a little rough. That's what we're going to be going over today. So by the end of this training, you should feel confident in your ability to implement the strategies and tactics of top prospecting agents so that you can have better conversations than you've ever had before and set more listing appointments. So quickly, let me introduce REDX and myself, and then we'll dive right into the training. Here at REDX, we're a team of data geeks. We believe it's better to know than to guess, that there's a science to everything. And that's why we've spent hundreds and thousands of hours creating intelligent data algorithms to find the good contact information for the leads that we're providing you. Now, taking that same drive and intensity, we've focused on discovering the science of top producers, the science of top prospectors, and how they set more listing appointments than the average agent. And I've spent a lot of time specifically trying to crack the code so that we could, on top prospectors, so that we could show you what they do so that you could duplicate their results. Which brings me into a little introduction of myself. This is a picture of me and my beautiful wife, Brittany. I've been on the REDX team now for about 3 years and researching these things, researching top producers, how they speak, the words they use, their tonality, so that we could crack the code and understand the science of prospecting on the phone. Because really both of these things, having good data quality to actually make the contact, and then having the right skills to have the right conversation, both of these fall under our purpose of clearing the path to your success. And we hope that by the end of this training you feel that we've helped to clear the path for you. So I mentioned cracking the code on top producers and top prospectors. Let me explain what I mean by that. I have spent 60 hours interviewing the top producing agents, the best prospectors in our industry, agents who make over $250,000 a year, and that totaled about 1,000 pages of interview transcripts, a little over 1,000 pages of insight into the best prospectors in our industry. Now, I don't know if you've ever read 1,000 pages on any given topic before, but for me it was exhilarating, basically swimming in the minds of the best agents in real estate and learning how they prospect, the strategies and methods that they use to never get caught off guard. So these are the things that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Here's what you can expect to learn. How top prospectors start every prospecting call to ensure a good contact, the formula they use to overcome any objection, and how they set appointments even after being rejected. All in all, the purpose of this is so that you can duplicate what top producers do, so that you can have what they have, right? Implement their strategies and tactics so that you can have the success, the results, the consistent stability that they have in their business. These agents that are consistently producing at a high level, they do certain things that we can implement into your business so that you can have their same results. Now, let me ask you before we dive in, have you ever been to a restaurant where maybe the food was good, it was decent, but you weren't really satisfied when you left? Or maybe you've been to a training where it was kind of the same thing, where the information was fine, right? But there was a lot of fluff and you left and you weren't really satisfied and you felt no different when you were done. This training is nothing like that. So I highly advise you to take notes. There's a lot of information that we're going to be going over, actionable steps that you can take to set more listing appointments, pulling from the best strategies and tactics of top producing agents in our country. I'll show you the strategies and tactics that the best prospecting agents use, and then how one top producer in particular implements these in his prospecting. Then I'll give you a real-life action plan, the tactics of how to implement these things into your business. Now, don't worry, you don't need to remember all of this. We're going to make it easier for you. At the end of this webinar, I'll give you access to the replay link for this training and e-guides that will walk you through step by step of how to implement each of these tactics and methods into your business, the list of scripts that top producers use to contact a wide variety of lead types, and objection handling videos so that you can see how other top producers handle the 9 most common objections in our industry. So stay to the end. You'll get access to all of this for free. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about strategy. The first strategy is how top producers start every prospecting call to ensure a good contact. If you implement the script that I'm about to show you, you can increase your contact rate by as much as 25%. This is important because top producers call multiple lead types, hundreds and hundreds of phone numbers, and they're not always sure who's going to pick up. Most agents, when they ask for the homeowner and whoever answers the phone isn't the homeowner or the homeowner isn't home, they just retreat, right? They try to get off the phone to avoid a potentially awkward interaction, but top producers ask more questions so that they can increase their contact rate. Let me show you the script that they use. It's really simple. First, they ask for the homeowner, and then if given a negative response, they clarify by adding the last name of the homeowner. If they get a negative response after that, they ask if the person on the phone knows the homeowner, how they can get in touch with them. And then if still get a negative response, they say this: no problem, I'm just calling about the property for sale on, the address. Am I calling the right number? Sometimes the name that we have on the lead doesn't exactly match with the property owner. That doesn't happen a lot, but every now and then it does. So by using this script, you can contact those people too. Now this seems pretty simple, right? Almost surprising that by adapting your script just a little bit in the beginning of your call, you can increase your contact rate by up to 25%. So use it and track your success and see if this is true in your market as well. By the way, this process is included in the script ebook that we'll give you a link for at the end, so you don't need to write any of this down. You'll have access to it later. The second strategy, the formula that top producers use to overcome objections. Most agents, when they're on the phone prospecting, they just talk. They run through their script, and they hope that whatever the homeowner on the other line says fits in perfectly with their script. But top producers do a little more. Top producers listen. They say less and listen more. So let me show you how they actively listen to have better conversations. First, they validate the feelings of the homeowner. This helps them to build trust and to break down barriers. Understanding how they feel is way better than just hearing the words that they say. You can do this by smiling and nodding on the other end of the phone. Studies show even that by you smiling and nodding, the homeowner can tell the difference on the phone. It's just a different tone, a different feeling. Now, don't mentally prepare a rebuttal while they're expressing their concerns. Your goal is not to win the argument, it's to set a listing appointment. So just start by listening. Then you can reflect their statements and feelings with paraphrasing. Ask a lot of questions to clarify and to follow up on questions to bring the conversation closer to a listing appointment. These questions should follow a 3 wide and a 3 deep model, which goes something like this. You ask, hey, where are you planning on moving next? And they say, oh, Chicago. And then you could ask 3 more deep questions about them moving to Chicago, like, oh great, what brings you there? Or, wonderful, is your family looking forward to that? Or, how fun, do you have family out there? Or, is it a job opportunity? When you get a good response to a wider question like, where are you planning on moving? You can ask deeper questions that will reveal more about their motivation. And then you can use these conversations to uncover more concerns and objections, and then you go through the same process. You just keep listening to what they say. Because you're the expert, and you can sell their home, but they don't know that yet. Most agents will just hear an objection, answer it quickly, and then try to move down their script or get off the phone as soon as possible to avoid a confrontation. But that's not what top prospectors do. They keep asking questions to better understand the motivation and the position of the homeowner. So here's the formula that they use to put this into action. They hear an objection, they agree with the seller, they respond to the objection, and then they immediately ask a follow-up question to continue the conversation toward a close. Most of these questions that will continue the conversation toward the close are actually found on the scripts that I'll provide you at the end of this training. So let me show you how top producers actually implement these strategies to set more appointments, even after getting rejected. And you're about to see one of REDX's top prospecting agents, Derek Lipsky, set a listing appointment with a tough homeowner even after he was rejected multiple times. Now Derek records some of his prospecting sessions and has given us permission to use him as an example for this. But before I show you his video, check out his stats from last year. I want you to know who you're about to see. Last year he did 52 transactions, 40 of which were from prospecting expireds. Total GCI of $275,000. But the best part of this is that Derek does all of this himself. He doesn't just have a big team doing a lot of work for him. He's a one-man show with a single office assistant. He prospects 5 to 6 days a week for 2 to 3 hours a day using REDX as his only lead source. So pay close attention to the patterns he uses in conversations. Here's how he uses these principles in action. He'll connect with the homeowner. He'll guide the conversation toward a listing appointment by using the formula we discussed earlier, and then he ends the call with an appointment even when the homeowner initially rejected him. Now, this homeowner rejects him actually 4 times before Derek finally sets the appointment. The homeowner's name is Tony, and through this video that I'm going to show you, I'll call attention to the patterns that Derek uses in moving the conversation toward the listing appointment. So here's a key for your reference. Don't worry about memorizing this or even remembering it necessarily. It will be easy to catch on to as soon as we start the call. First, Tony will use objections to get Derek off the phone. Then Derek will respond with answers to those objections, followed up immediately by a question to dig deeper into the seller and progress the conversation toward a listing appointment. After the follow-up question, Tony will give a response, which Derek will then use to ask another question. Don't worry if this seems confusing, you'll get the hang of it in a minute. Once Derek has gone through this pattern a few times, you'll start to see how he's progressing the conversation toward a listing appointment. Listen in as Derek talks with Tony. It's brilliant.
Hey, this is Derek from Keller Williams. Is this Tony?
Yeah, hey, this is Tony. Hey, listen, we're not gonna use an agent. What do you need?
Tony, I'm just giving you a quick call. I saw that your home was for sale. I wanted to see if you had sold it already or that was something that was still up for sale now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely for sale. We just put it on the private market a little bit ago. Do you have a buyer for it?
You know, I don't know. I haven't seen the property yet, but I did see it come off, and I guess you guys are selling it yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah. If you have a buyer for it, we're willing to pay you 3%. Do you have a buyer?
You know, I haven't seen it yet, Tony. I work with lots of buyers, and with the amount of inventory I carry, I'm generating somewhere between 3 and 4 buyers a day. So if I don't have one now, I may have one later. Hey, let me ask you, since you guys are selling it yourself, why did you decide to do that? Was it because you hate realtors?
No, we don't hate realtors. You know, we had it on the market for 6 months, and you didn't bring us a buyer at that point. How come you're calling us now and you got 3 or 4 buyers?
Well, hold on a second. You've been on the market for 6 months?
Yeah, we had listed with another agent before. We were listed before, and it didn't sell, so we figured it, we drop our price and we could sell it on our own. So if you have a buyer, we're willing to work with you. Otherwise, we're not looking for an agent to list our house.
Well, yeah, that makes total sense to me, and if I was in your situation, I'd feel the same way. So, Tony, when this home does sell, where are you planning to move next?
You know what? We're actually going to be moving to Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. That's exciting. What takes you down that way?
I just got a job opportunity there, and my wife's family's from North Chicago, and so it's a good chance to go there.
Okay. So you have a job opportunity, and wife and some family there. Is there any time frame to get there?
We'd like to finish there probably 3 months ago. That didn't happen. You know what, though, Jack? I've got to get running. I've got some meetings this afternoon. Yeah, if you have a buyer, feel free to give me a call, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Tony, let me ask you a quick question. I mean, obviously, you were on the market. What price were you on when you first started a while back?
You mean as a for sale by owner, or when we listed it with our last company?
When you listed it with your last company?
We were starting at $499.9 is where we were.
Okay, and what do you at today?
We just put it up there on Sunday for $450.
Oh, $450. Is that sort of your market strategy? Like you're going to keep reducing the price until it sells?
Well, I mean, at that price point, and the condition, it's like $30,000. So we just figured $450 is where we need to be. So we just dropped the price and took out the commission. So hopefully a buyer will want to come buy it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. And I guess what you guys are trying to demonstrate is clear value, right? You want the buyer to say, this is clear value. Let's make an offer today.
Yeah. I mean, we just want to sell the house and move to Chicago.
Okay. And so are you guys offering a commission if we do have a buyer for you?
I haven't really thought of that. I mean, if you have a qualified buyer, we'll definitely look at what you have.
Okay. Well, I don't want to lead you the wrong way and tell you I have a guy who wants your house, because if I had that, we wouldn't be talking. We'd be at a closing table with me handing you a check, and that's still possible. But the reality of it is, your home is on the market, and can I ask you how many showings have you had so far since you've been on privately?
We just put it up on Sunday, and we haven't had any exits yet.
Okay, here's the thing, Tony. I know where your property is located. I know that homes in that area generally don't last long. I'm surprised to hear you say that you had it on 6 months with a broker and no results. I'm curious, if I was able to get that home on the market, get it marketed correctly, get you your $450 or maybe even a little bit more in your pocket, and take care of all the commission and stuff, a net of $450 or higher for you, even after you pay commission, are you open to at least hear that plan if it would work for you?
I just don't see how that's possible, Derek. If this doesn't work in the next month or so, we're probably going to hire that flat fee service. We can get it on the MLS for $300, and I just don't see the point in paying you a commission when I can get it on the MLS,
Well, I wouldn't either. Tony, and I certainly wouldn't ask you if I didn't think it was clear value in there. See, here's the thing. I listed a home not too long ago in Randolph that was the same situation you were at. They were on for $250. Now, they were on with another broker for almost a year, and they were on for 6 months for sale by owner themselves, and at the $250 was when they reduced it themselves. Do you know that when I put that home on the market, we put it on at 290 and we got 300 for it in 4 days? Now, Tony, this is a home that's been on the market for 18 months with nothing. I put it on 4 days. We get 50,000 more if they almost left on the table. And I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you that you could be leaving money on the table. So I'd like to get together with you sooner than later and show you what I do that's differently and how I generate more money than most. Is 5 o'clock good today or 6 o'clock better for you?
Yeah, Derek, I can, you know what, give me a call in a month. We're going to go like this for a month, and we'll look at the flat fee service. You know, maybe I'll sit down and get that for 15 minutes. But right now, we're just going to go for sell by owner for the next 30 days.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, I get that, and I can still call you in a month. Can I ask you, why do you want to wait a month for that?
Well, I mean, if I could sell it in the next 30 days, like I said, put it up on Sunday, and if I could save that commission itself for $450, that's what we'd rather do to save that money in Chicago.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously, $450 is a lot of money, and the more you can bring with you, the better it is. You know, I'm curious, Tony, what's more important to you, the commission you pay or your net?
Oh, yeah, obviously it's what we net. I don't care what the commission is as long as I get my money.
Right. So let's do this, Tony. If you don't really care and sort of time is of the essence here, let's get together for 20 minutes. Let me show you what I'm doing differently. If it's not night and day different from what you're doing and what your last agent is doing, I don't expect you to shift gears and go with me, but if I can show you something that's going to cause your home to sell faster and for more money, are you at least open to that?
You know what it might be? Let me talk to my wife and see if she's on board, and then, you know, give me a call back tomorrow and we can see what she says.
Okay, and can I ask you, if your wife is on board with it, I mean, if she's open to meet and talk about getting the home sold, are you open to meet with both me and her?
Yeah, I mean, if she's open to it for sure, I definitely would look at that.
How long have you guys been married for?
We've been married probably the same too many years now, it seems like. We're starting to get married.
So the honeymoon's over?
Yeah.
Okay. And is she as excited as you are to get to Chicago to get closer to her family?
She's probably more excited than I am.
Okay. So what do you think she'd say if you say, hey, honey, I talked to this agent who's going to show us a plan that's not only going to get our home sold for more money than we're asking now, but get us to Chicago in the next 60 days?
She'd probably be excited, Derek.
Yeah, she would be excited. So let's do this. Why don't we set the appointment for tomorrow at 5 o'clock? You talk to her tonight. If at the end of that conversation you have with her, she says, you know what, honey, it doesn't make sense to work with a realtor who can net us more money and get us to Chicago faster, then when I call you tomorrow to confirm it, you can go ahead and cancel it. Fair enough?
Derek, I mean, I like what you're saying. I just don't see what you're going to do different than my last guy that I had. I feel like all you guys just do the same thing. You just want to get my listings to get your commission.
Absolutely right. We do work to get commissions here, and that's exactly what we do. I'm a professional agent, and one of the things I've been known for is to get homes sold faster and for more money and to do things differently than the agents that aren't getting results. That's why I'll cover that when I swing by tomorrow at 6 and go over it. Is 20 minutes of your time potentially worth $50,000 of equity?
Yeah.
I'll see you at 6 tomorrow. Fair enough?
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
And is it okay if I call you on this number to confirm?
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, Tony. I'll talk to you later, bud.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks.
Ah, Derek nailed it. Now, let's analyze what he did to set that listing appointment. Was it because he did anything special, or did he just keep agreeing to everything that Tony said? Then he would address the objections and immediately ask another relevant follow-up question, a deep question to keep him in the conversation. He had to attempt to close 5 times before he set that appointment. Each time he tried to close the homeowner, Tony brought up new objections and new concerns. And Derek responded by going back into listening and validating the concern, responding to the objection, and asking more questions. By the way, in case you were wondering, Derek prospects with expireds, for sell by owners, and geo leads with REDX, and uses a Storm Dialer and the Onyx upgraded data package to connect with more homeowners. Everything he did was so simple. Agreed, addressed objections, and then asked follow-up questions that were relevant to the conversation. Now let me tell you why Derek didn't give up. Because Derek was a hero. Derek knew he could help Tony. Tony and his wife desperately wanted to get to Chicago, and Derek knew he could help them get there faster and with more money in their pocket. It would have been selfish for Derek to not keep pushing and responding with alternatives to Tony's concerns. Now, I don't know if you've experienced this yet as a real estate agent, helping someone whose home had expired or they had been a for sale by owner for a long time and helping them to finally sell their home. But if you do, if you go list their home after they've tried and failed to do it, you will be a hero in their eyes. And you'll be a hero because you listened and you did what the other agent couldn't, or you did what they couldn't by going FISBO. And you start this process by listening, validating their objections, and asking questions to show them an alternative that might be better for them. If you can do this when you're on the phone, you'll set more listing appointments because they'll know that you have their best interest at heart. If you do what Derek just showed you how, you will always know what to say, and you'll have the confidence to say it right. Now, let's get into an action plan. I'm going to show you what you need to do to prepare and to practice and then actually implement these things into your business. First, you need to memorize the scripts. Understand the purpose of your script. The way you do this is you read them until you fully understand their purpose in the conversation. Analyze them. Try to get them into your heart. Write them out repeatedly. This gets the lines into your subconscious memory. And then get into character. When you're on the phone, you become a powerful listing agent. Even if you don't feel like that, even if you don't feel confident in your skills yet, act, literally act, get into a character, pretend that you are a powerful listing agent, and that will help you to have more confidence. Then record yourself using the scripts and listening to you as you prospect. Listen to how you sound, evaluate, and then make improvements. You'll be amazed. If you haven't done this before, do it today. You'll be amazed at how maybe silly or boring you may sound at certain times. You can tweak and make adjustments so that you have better conversations. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you're not perfect at first at using the scripts and having these conversations. Prospecting is hard. Just listen to your recordings so that you know how you can improve and evaluate to move forward. Now, the next thing you can do to practice is to role play. Let me show you how important the top producers and top prospectors think role play is. One of my friends, Edward Estrada from Northridge, California, takes role play very seriously. He has 5 role play partners scheduled every single week, one for each day, and typically he role plays with that partner twice a day, just to stay fresh. He replaces those partners every 2 months. He keeps them on his toes and never allows him to get too comfortable with the objections and the scenarios that those roleplay partners throw at him. Now, I'm not saying that this is exactly what you need to do. Maybe you just start with one roleplay in the morning and a couple roleplays in your office throughout the week. But if it wasn't this important, then it would be really easy to cut it out of Edward's prospecting schedule. But he does it faithfully because he knows that perfect practice makes perfect. You don't need to be perfect when you start prospecting. Just start making the calls. Just start practicing. Within 100 calls, you'll have faced almost every objection, every complaint, and every concern that you will probably hear for the entire real estate career. Stumble your way through the conversation enough times, and eventually you'll get it. Just like Zig Ziglar, one of the greatest salesmen of history, said, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. So pick up the phone, make 100 prospecting calls, and write down every objection they throw at you. Use those objections in your roleplay practice. Actively listen to the homeowners and try to overcome their objection, and immediately ask a follow-up question to progress that conversation toward a close. Just try to make this a habit. Even if you're not sure what questions to ask at first, just ask something and you'll get better at it. You may struggle with this at the beginning, and that's totally fine. Just keep working and work on your close. So here's what you can do, outlined every step. Begin memorizing the scripts. Find a roleplay partner and practice. Make calls and practice, and write down every objection and try to set a listing appointment or get a referral on every call. Now, let's review what we've gone over today, just to recap. How top producers start every prospecting call to ensure good contact. You can use that script that we reviewed to increase your contact rate, specifically with expireds, by 25% because you know how to start the conversation to reach more homeowners. You'll have better conversations because you know how to guide that conversation toward a listing appointment. And you'll set more appointments even if you initially get rejected because you know how to address objections, how to push past rejection, and ask follow-up questions. It will take some practice, but now you understand how to always know what to say, so that you can duplicate what top producers do in order to have what they have. Now that you know what to say, you need to have the right people to say it too. And this gets back to the first point that I brought up. According to research from over 8,000 surveys, agents who net more than $250,000 a year work these lead types. First, referrals, with their sphere of influence. A lot of people don't think that working your sphere is prospecting, but we think it is. Working your past clients in sphere for referral and repeat business is a great way to start and to get a strong foundation. And then working expireds. These are homeowners who have tried to sell their home previously, but have been unsuccessful with their real estate agent. You know that these people are motivated to sell. They already tried. You can just approach them and offer your services to do what the last agent couldn't. Again, for sell by owners, similar situation to expired. The only difference is that they haven't used an agent to sell their home yet, that they're listing it by themselves unsuccessfully because it's still on the market. You can approach them to try to get them to list with you. The next option that top producers use is their geographic farm, specifically for just listed and just sold calling. This is where you can canvass a neighborhood around properties that you, your business, or your brokerage, or even another agent somewhere has just listed or just sold a property. Because as soon as one home sells in a neighborhood, homeowners start to talk. They learn that John Smith or Susie Lee sold their house for, such and such amount, and then they start to think about if they should sell, if they should upsize, or if they should downsize. That creates a lot of buzz in a neighborhood, and you almost always have 3 or 4 homes that sell in a neighborhood in a short amount of time after one does. So this is a great way to get new business if you don't have other lead options. Also, it's a great way to invite people to open houses to collect buyer and seller leads. And of course, online buyer leads. Now, everyone can do this on a zero-based budget. You can start finding expireds on the MLS and then check to see if they've been relisted, find tax records to get an owner name, and then search through the white pages to find a phone number. Or you could door knock. For FSBOs, go to Craigslist or search through the classifieds. For geographic farming, your title company will often have phone numbers. They're not great, but they'll do if you don't have any money to spend on lead generation. And for buyer leads, some agents don't even want to work with buyers, so you can take them for a small referral fee. Or you could do open houses for other agents. There's another option that you may want to consider, and we call these for rent by owner leads. This is a new lead that REDX just created recently. These are vacant, self-managed rental properties. You can approach these homeowners to see if they'd be interested in selling their property instead of continuing to try to rent the property unsuccessfully. Many top producing agents have begun to supplement their income with these vacant rentals because these homeowners are very often stressed and they're just one eviction away for wanting to cash out on the property and walk away, and you can provide your service to help them do that. But here's the thing. Now that you know what top producers are saying, how they overcome objections, how they set up listing appointments, not only do you have to say what they are saying, but you have to do what they are doing to mimic their results. If you want the results of a top producer, you've got to think how top producers think and do what they do. Top producers understand that there are 2 things that all agents have in common. We all have the same amount of time every day and the same prospecting funnel. It is the same no matter who you are. You have to get leads, then have conversations with those leads. You have to set appointments, go on listing presentations, get contracts, and close the sale. It's the same for everybody. Top producers don't just know what to say. They understand that they should invest money in the top of their funnel so they can spend more time in the bottom of their funnel. This is how you grow your business. You invest money in low-cost lead generation so you can spend the rest of your time having conversations with those people. As you have enough leads, then you invest in technology that lets you have more conversations in a shorter amount of time, which is why top producing agents who make over $250,000 a year are 94% more likely to use a dialer than the average agent so that they can make more phone calls in a shorter amount of time because they understand the value of their time. They know if they only have a certain amount of time every day to prospect, they have to have enough leads and they have to connect with enough of them to quickly enough to get in touch with the right people because it's a numbers game. And of course, more conversations in a shorter amount of time results in setting more listing appointments. So, if you're ready to have great conversations with motivated sellers and to set more listing appointments, this is how you do that. Let me show you the technology they're using. This is Vortex, their lead management platform. Rather than you doing all the lead generation work, let us do that for you so that you can focus on what you're best at, which is talking with homeowners, going on listing presentations, and using the strategies and methods we covered in this training. So you'll see here what we were just looking at was the lead view. Right here you're just looking at the list where we have all of the new expireds that you haven't contacted yet. For instance, if we were to look at this filter here that we create for you, then you're seeing all the new for sale by owners that are in your area that you've requested that you haven't contacted. Some of them, like this one here, Julie, are interesting because she's been a for sale by owner and an expired. This shows that for her and for Brian down here, that they both have that status, that they are very motivated to sell their home, that they've tried 2 different ways. So that tells a little bit of a story. Here in the list view, you can see the contact name, how many phone numbers they have, some of the basic listing information, and then if available, pictures on the property. But it gets even cooler than that. If you come into the filters, you can set automatic filters so that you only see the leads that you want to be calling on. For instance, maybe you only want to call on non-owner occupieds. You could set that automatic filter here. Or maybe you only have a certain price range that you want to work, or you don't want to go below a certain number value on the home. Then you can set that right here. You can also set property filters where if you only want newer homes or homes that are of a certain size or certain bed and bath limits. And then geographic, right? If you only want homes in a certain city, zip code, MLS area, school district, or subdivision even, you can set those filters there so that you can customize the leads that you're receiving to your market and to what you like to prospect. Now let me show you the geo leads. This is the geographic search filter here. If you come into geo leads, you can put any address in the search bar and then find the home. From there, you can decide to only see the properties that have been owned for at least 7 years, because that's the average turnaround time in real estate. You can search the neighborhood by a boundary or radius, or by the street, or just the single property. So for this case, for the demonstration, we'll just do the neighborhood. The nearest 100 homes that have been owned for at least 7 years. You can get a preview of these properties and then get the leads. That will take a minute, and then they'll appear in your Vortex as a new folder that you can immediately prospect to. Right there. Then you can select the leads and start a dial session right from the computer. Everything's all here for you. We made it as simple and as easy as we could. All right, and there you go. And you can decide to exclude or include numbers on the do not contact list and mobile numbers. Then you'll just go to start the prospecting session. From there, you can even check your call stats by coming up here and looking at Pulse. So for instance, if I wanted to look at this entire year of prospecting for this agent and view by the week, I can set those filters, and Pulse will keep track of all the calls I've made so I can keep track of my call stats. This is really helpful for you knowing how many contacts you need to make in order to set a listing appointment. For this agent, they've made 490 contacts this year, and they've set 21 appointments. That's about a 4% conversion rate. So that's the basics of Vortex. Now let's chat about what you would need to invest to have a system like this. Here's what you'd get when you sign up today. Since top producing agents almost always prospect expireds, FSBOs, and specific neighborhoods with a power dialer, that's what I want to offer you. Generally, this would cost you $229 a month plus a $150 setup fee. But today, I'm able to offer it to you for $189 a month because you've watched this training webinar. I'm going to give you the discounted rate that we normally only give on Cyber Monday. I'm also going to waive the $150 setup fee that we would normally charge. I'll throw in access to our live roleplay system so that you can sharpen and refine your prospecting skills. From there, I'll give you access to our live customer support and training. We never want you to get stuck or to feel frustrated. We know that there's a lot of agents who have a difficult time starting or understanding any new technology, so don't worry about that because we're here for you and we'll help you succeed. And we'll give you free access to past expireds. Most other services would charge extra for this, but we include it in your already discounted price. And to make this even better, you're not locked into a contract. Everything is billed monthly, so if you ever need to put your account on hold, or if you decide to stop prospecting for any reason, it's really easy to cancel your account. We'll take care of you. Our success is your success. We have every incentive to help you learn the system, get value out of the system, and help you set appointments. Now on the side of your screen, you should see a button to click on. This is how you get the deal. It will bring you to another page that you need to fill out your contact information, which when submitted will bring you right here. Now let me show you a simple trick that you can use to make sure that you get everything for $189 a month. The button that you've clicked on will waive the setup fee automatically and apply a discount, and then when you select expireds, GeoLeads for sell by owners, and Storm Dialer, and you keep it on the monthly, it will apply all these discounts down here to bring the total cost to $189 a month. From there, you just need to select the areas that you're going to be prospecting, and there's a button down below this that you can continue to put the billing information and then complete the order. Now, even if you want to use for the for rent by owner leads and the pre-foreclosures, don't select them right now. You can just always add them to your account later because the deal is only going to work if you only select these 4 lead types. So that's all you need to do to get the deal. Now, let me introduce you to someone who's doing this right now. This is Paula Burleson. She's in the top 1% of realtors in Las Vegas, Nevada. In 2017, she listed 43 homes, did 68 transactions, and earned $368,000 in GCI. Here's her lead stack. Every day, she prospects for 15 to 30 minutes calling new expireds, then 30 minutes calling old expireds, 30 minutes doing just listed, just sold calling with geo leads, and then 30 minutes calling on non-owner occupieds, like that filter I showed you how to create inside of Vortex. She then spends 30 minutes calling on her sphere of influence and her past clients. Altogether, she prospects about 2.5 hours a day with the Storm Dialer to hit her goal of 30 contacts each day. And now she has some great advice for you that I'd love to share.
I log into my Vortex. I have the expires that are preloaded in there in less than 10 minutes. I have everybody that I need to call. I use their Storm Dialer to call so that I don't get distracted, and so I stay on the phone, and it continually dials. So I have to be paying attention, and it increases my call ratio or my contact ratio. So if it was me and I was in any age, new or old, and getting into the business, you come to the realization that time is the number one thing you sell and is the most valuable thing to you. And the more time I can save and the more efficient I can become, the more money I can make and the more people I can help. Once you realize that and know that REDX is going to cut down the time and the frustration, it's going to be a no-brainer.
So I hope that this is a no-brainer for you, just like Paula mentioned, that you'll sign on with REDX and have the ability to consistently set listing appointments with motivated sellers. That way you'll never have to worry about having enough leads or where your leads are coming from, taking care of the first biggest problem in real estate, and then by applying the skills that you've learned here today, it'll take care of the second, that you don't know what to say when you're on the phone. Now, you'll be able to consistently overcome objections and push past rejection to set the listing appointments you need to create a consistent and stable income. So if you'd like to take advantage of this deal, this offer, there's a button on the right-hand side of the screen. I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar that people can ask questions and that I would answer as many as I could at the end. So we've had a lot of questions come through, and I'll try to answer as many as possible. Let's see. Let me open these up here. First, from Anne, will there be a replay? Yes, I'll send you a replay link in an email after this is all over, so you'll be able to have access to that, Anne. Let's see. Jackson asked, when will we send the e-guide? So Jackson, I'll send the e-guide in that same email with the webinar replay link. Someone else asked if the slides are available. Sorry, but we're not going to release the slides, but we will have that replay link that you can access. Let's see, Stephanie, can you combine multiple MLSs in REDX? Yes, Stephanie, we work with over 650 MLSs. We have direct live feeds from many of them, and the others we have a little more manual work that has to go into it, but most of the MLSs in the country work with REDX. If you have any specific questions, you can always call in and we can chat about your specific questions. But yes, as many MLSs as you're a member of, we can integrate into Vortex, your lead manager. Ooh, this is a good question from Greg. Landlines are almost useless. Do you provide cell phones as well, or are you only giving us landlines? Great question, Greg. The simple answer is we provide landlines and cell phones. Our data algorithms are designed to find the numbers that are most likely linked to the homeowner. And oftentimes these are landlines, oftentimes they're cell lines. But just to debunk a few of the myths about landlines, because I know that in real estate sometimes they're jeered at almost, but at this point about 70% of households in the United States still have a landline, and many people list their cell phones as landlines when they're filling out online forms, which is where a lot of data companies find their information. So some companies market cell phone databases, but these don't really exist. It's actually just people opting into things online, giving their cell phone number, which sometimes they'll mark as a landline, and then REDX and other data companies scrape this information to create data to connect with these leads. So if you have any more questions specifically about how our data algorithms work, we can get into that. But short answer, yes, we do provide cell phone numbers, a lot of cell phone numbers actually, but landlines are still effective. They're maybe not as effective as cell phone numbers, but definitely still worth calling. Let's see. Next one's from Antonio. How much money can I make with REDX? Well, Antonio, that's an interesting question because that's like asking how much weight you can lose or how much muscle you can gain by going to the gym, right? It's all dependent on how much you work, how your effort and your skill level, right? If you have a coach, right, if you're in a real estate coaching program, then you can expect to make more money with REDX than if you're just by yourself. But because you have a coach that's helping to keep you accountable for everything, right? Just like if you had a trainer at the gym. But even without a coach, even as a sole agent and you're just, kind of a one-man show like Derek doing your own thing, you can still make a lot of money as long as you consistently keep to your schedule, right? You can get accountability in other ways. I think coaching is definitely helpful and very very worthwhile. And every serious real estate agent should have a coach because I think we need that accountability. But even without one, you can still make a lot of money with REDX. Another way I want to answer this question, let me get out of this slide deck here and open up a different deck. Let's see, here we go. I just created a little vision and goals presentation. Let's see, here we go. For our customers about how they can set a vision and create goals around their business, and I think that this could help to answer that question. So if you wanted to make $150,000 a year, based on the average sales price in my area, that means I need 20 transactions, right? That's not super crazy. It's not easy either, but that would be a great living and put you way ahead of most other real estate agents. Because not everything in my market is selling, though, I need to get 22 listings to sell 20 homes, because about 90% of what we list actually sells right now in my market. I know that for every 3 appointments I go on, I get a contract. So in order to get these 22 contracts, I need to actually give 66 listing presentations. But listing appointments fall through every now and then, and not every appointment turns into a presentation for a number of different reasons. So in order for me to get those 66 presentations, I need to set 75 appointments. And then I know, according to my Pulse stats, remember Pulse was the numbers tracking that I showed you earlier in Vortex. According to your Pulse stats, you may know that you need to have 30 or 3,000 contacts to set 75 appointments, because you need to talk with 40 people to set one appointment, which is something you could learn in Pulse. And in this 40, for instance, I'm counting everything, whether it's the right person or not. If they're a human being and a homeowner, I count them in my numbers of contacts to appointments. So I need to talk with 40 people. That includes expireds, FSBOs, just listed, just sold, past clients, and sphere of influence. And I know this, it's easy because Pulse keeps track of it for me. And then you know that you need to make maybe 10 dials to get a contact, which leaves you with 30,000 dials to make over the course of the year. So let's say it's January, I'm setting my annual goals and I want to take a lot of vacation this year, so I'm only going to work 200 days this year. So if you work 200 days, that's 40 work weeks, and if you need to make 30,000 dials in order to make $150,000, that leaves you with 150 dials per day. I know that from Pulse, making 150 calls takes about 2 or 2.5 hours when I use Storm Dialer, and a little over 4 hours without Storm. So in order to set your goals, you need to know how your numbers work so you can reverse engineer your goals. So if your goal here is $150,000, if that's what you want to make, then you can use your call stats to reverse engineer your funnel, and then you know how much work you have to put into it, and then you can figure out how much time that work will take. So that may have been a longer answer to your question, but I hope that helps to clarify that question for you. Now let me jump back into our other presentation here. Let's see. Now let me find some other questions. Hope that answered that for you, Antonio. Let's see, Steve. Steve just asked, how good are REDX expired? So, Steve, that's an interesting question because every real estate lead generation company says basically the same thing, right? We have the best data, and you should use our data to call expireds or FSBOs or whoever else. But it's interesting that most of these companies are qualifying that with something they call match rate. Match rate being how many of the leads am I providing, what percentage of those can I actually pair a phone number to. So you have companies, I won't name any names, but you have a lot of lead gen companies saying that they have a 90% match rate or a 95% match rate. And that's actually a very misleading number, because all that means is they took a phone number and paired it to an address, having no qualification for the accuracy of that phone number. And because this is how most people measured their data, I mean, obviously that's not a very good measurement, right? That's very faulty. You don't even need to go into why. It's obvious why that's not a good measurement. But we wanted, at REDX, we wanted a better way to measure our own data so that we knew how we could improve. Right, the hundreds and thousands of hours I mentioned earlier in the very beginning of the webinar that we've invested into intelligent data algorithms, we created a new measurement for data so that we could refine our own data algorithms, and we call that measurement octane. All octane means is basically it's a fancy way of saying within a reasonable amount of effort, how many of what's the likelihood that I'll be able to contact this homeowner. So the way we measure that, a reasonable amount of effort, is we take every phone number, every lead that we provide, and we call each number 3 times. And by calling each number 3 times, that's about the most effort any real estate agent would give any given lead. So after doing that, how many of the leads are we able to connect with? And we did that for every lead provided by REDX and then a bunch of other competitors. And we found that REDX has the best octane. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be easy to connect with homeowners, but what it does mean is that with a reasonable amount of effort, calling each lead, each phone number 3 times, you will connect with our 26% of the leads in our standard REDX product, REDX expires, and then 45% of the leads if you use the Onyx upgraded data system. So the Onyx upgrade is another $100 for this, and it's not something that anyone can sign up on. You need to qualify for it because it's more phone numbers and more work, but it just gives you more opportunity to reach the maximum number of homeowners. So in asking about how good REDX data is and how good REDX expireds are, that's what you have to look at. You have to look at the total opportunity and how much time you're willing to call on leads. So if you're only willing to make maybe 2 hours of phone calls every week, not just REDX isn't a good system for you, but probably prospecting isn't going to work for you in your business because 2 hours is not enough time to maximize your revenue and to maximize your results with prospecting. Most of the top producing agents that we work with, we mentioned Derek Lipsky earlier, prospects 5 to 6 days a week for 2 to 3 hours a day. That's where you're going to start having success. So as long as you're putting in the time necessary and calling each of the leads with a reasonable amount of effort, 3 times or more, you can expect to get in touch with 26% of our expireds, about 60% of the FSBOs, and that's because for sale by owners are giving you their own phone number, right, when they put it up on the listing, and it's much easier to get that information than expireds, where we have to create these data algorithms to find the data. So about 26% of the contacts you can make with expireds, 60% with for sale by owners, and then if you use the Onyx upgraded data package for another $100 a month, then the expired octane goes up from 26% to about 45%. So if you have more questions about that specifically, just call into one of our sales guys. They can go into more detail on that, but I want to make sure I can get through some of these questions, so I'm going to jump to this next one here from Heather. She says, you didn't show much of the dialer. Is it like Mojo? So yeah, Storm Dialer, I didn't really demo much because I just wanted to show you Vortex briefly, but Storm Dialer is integrated into our own platform. It's a dialer that we've created to work inside Vortex so that you can call on 1, 2, or 3 lines to all of your leads. So the deal we have here at $189, that's just for the single line Storm Dialer. But the way it works is you select the leads in any of those list views that I showed you, either in a filter or a folder, and then you just start a dial session, and it calls through sequentially. It's like you're on a 3-way call. It's as if you called me personally, and then I called my buddy, and you and my buddy could talk, and you wouldn't even hear me, right? It would be like we were on a 3-way call. That's basically what Storm does. Our computer connects with your cell phone or your desk phone or your landline or whatever phone you're calling from, and then after you've made that connection, it will call sequentially to all of your leads. When it recognizes a voicemail machine, you can click to drop a voicemail that you've pre-recorded, and then the dialer will start calling your next lead. So what this does is it increases the amount of contacts you can make, because instead of having to hand dial numbers, hang up the phone, get distracted, take a coffee break, go check out Facebook, the dialer just keeps making calls. So you have to stay focused because someone is going to answer. And it might not be immediate, but someone is always going to be, you need to act like someone's about to always answer so that you're ready with your scripts, so that when they do answer, which will happen very consistently while using the automatic dialer, you're ready to dive into the conversation and to use the skills that you've learned in this webinar. So again, if you have any more questions on that, just chat with our sales team. It's a very easy to use, simple dialer. We've tried to make it very, very intuitive. So if you're worried about the not being tech savvy enough, don't worry. We'll show you how it works. It's a pretty great system. Let's see. Dominique, I'm already using another service to get my phone numbers. How is REDX any different? So this is kind of like the question we talked about earlier. One way, I think when she's talking about this, it sounds like she's talking about Dominique, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dominique, but it sounds like you're asking specifically about phone numbers in general, but the way you've worded this sounds like you're talking about just list of phone numbers, right? As if you were using like just a database, right, that wasn't specific to any given type of lead. So one of the biggest ways that we're different from those is that we're giving you specific lead types of people that are interested in selling their property, and we're finding the homeowners for those properties, right? So with the GeoLead search tool, when you canvas a neighborhood, it will give you, instead of the tenant phone numbers like some of our competitors will give you, right, the people who live there, it will actually find the homeowner for that property, and not just the tenant. So that's the big difference, that you're actually going to be reaching more of the right people. And then this question also gets back to Octane, the measurement I talked about earlier with measuring our data, that if you have REDX that has a higher Octane than some of our competitors, well, than all of our competitors actually, you're going to have more contacts per lead. Now that doesn't mean you're going to not have to spend a lot of time. You will still have to spend a significant amount of time prospecting, but you will have more contacts per lead with REDX than you will with the other services. So if you have specific questions about specific providers and competitors, you can ask our sales team about that as well. Andrew, which scripts do you recommend? So first, Andrew, before I recommend any specific scripts, it's important that you just stick with something. Right, you always have the agent in your office or your brokerage who's saying, "Oh, I found the perfect script. This script has no flaws and no errors, and you're never gonna have problems as long as you use this script." There's no such thing as the perfect script. There are near perfect scripts, right? Like the Mike Favre scripts that most people, I think, base theirs off of at this point. That's pretty close to perfect. But what you need to do is just stick with one script, get really good at it, know every objection that someone could throw at you at the different points in your script, and then learn how to overcome the objection with active listening and asking follow-up questions like we learned today in this webinar. So more importantly than which script you use, it's just pick one and then use it and stick with it and master that script. All right, Diane, what's the objection handling formula again? All right, Diane, let me find this for you on my slide deck. I could say it, but I want it to be visual for you as well. All right, here's the first part. Active listening, right? You actively listen, validate their feelings, ask follow-up questions. Remember, 3 wide, 3 deep, like, where are you moving? When the home sells, where are you moving next? That would be a wide question. And then, like Tony said, Chicago. Then you'd say, oh, great, Chicago. What brings you there? That's a deep question about Chicago. So as you're actively listening, ask wide and deep questions so that you can understand the homeowner better, and then just listen to what they say, right? And then the next part is the formula for overcoming objections, which I think this is what you were actually asking for. Are these 4 steps. You hear the objection, agree with the seller, respond to the objection, and then ask a follow-up question. So a response needs to be very quick and crisp, right? If someone asks you, sometimes they ask kind of angry questions, right? About, well, how are you so different from all the other agents that have called me this morning? I've been contacted 20 times so far. And you could say, wow, 20 times, that's incredible. That's a lot of agents that are interested in your property. And can I ask, are you still interested in selling? Right? I respond to the objection. That wasn't perfect. That was just kind of me flying off the cuff. But you respond to the objection, and then you ask another relevant question immediately. Because when you're asking questions, you're in control of the conversation. You're the one that has the power in the conversation if you're asking questions. Next time you go try to buy a car or anything that's a high value purchase, or if you are buying a home and using a different realtor, maybe the salesperson will be asking a lot of questions. And it is to get a good conversation going, but more of it is to control the flow of the conversation so that you can accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, which is, in this case, setting a listing appointment. So there's the formula for that. Let's see, next question. How do I find a role play partner? Okay, good question. Let me pull up something that may help you with this. The first thing, though, that I would recommend is just talking with people in your office, right? If you have people in your office that want to role play, then that's the easiest way to go. Another option is to find Facebook communities, right? Like this one here, Real Estate Agents That Really Work. This is a great community. It's getting huge now. It's almost at 27,000 members. A lot of people on here just use this as a networking group to find roleplay partners. Another one that you could use is Lab Code Agents. Oh, there we go. There are a lot of Facebook groups like this, or social media groups that you can connect with. So I think the first answer, finding people in your community, in your brokerage that could role play with you, and then going on to Facebook groups, and then just going to real estate events, training events, right? Like the Mike Ferry events that are happening all around the country. Those are great opportunities to find role play partners. That's where Edward, the guy I mentioned earlier, that's where he finds most of his role play partners, at the Mike Ferry events. Because there's just a ton of people that are passionate about prospecting, and that's the kind of person you want to be role playing with. Let's see, there are a bunch of other questions here. It looks like most of them are repeat questions of things I've answered before. Yeah, I think that's it. So everyone, if you have any more questions, please give our sales team a call. And remember, if you'd like to sign up on this deal for $189 a month, the button on the right of the screen will still work for you. You can click on that and access the deal. Right now. So if you have any questions, give us a call, 800-731-7339. You'll want to use option 2 to get in touch with the sales team. If you have any questions, give them a call. If not, then we'll chat later. Good luck.